Because as soon as I started realizing this information that numerology can provide for people, it's a fast track way to self-awareness, healing, raising your vibration, overcoming your lower self tendencies and rising up into your full potential. This information is vital. I was a youth line counselor volunteer, which is counseling kids that are, that need to ring a 24 helpline. And counseling and helping people is always a passion of mine. But now I have this accurate tool that can pinpoint exactly what they might be going through. And even just to tell another human being, I know you have this issue. Here it is on paper. It's okay that you have it. You are destined in a way to go through this because this is what you've inherited with the chart that you have, with the numbers that you have. It's okay. This is what I would expect you to be going through.
Welcome to the Numerology Show. My name's Hayden Crawford and I'm a wellness coach and spiritual teacher. I specialise in colour therapy and numerology. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with the incredible Michelle Buchanan, internationally renowned numerologist, Hay House author and intuitive guide. So Michelle has been inspiring people across the globe with her heartfelt, practical and spiritually grounded approach to numerology for over 2 decades. So she's the author of the Numerology Guidebook, Numerology Made Easy, and the Numerology Guidance Cards as well. And she's helped thousands align with their soul path through the magic of numbers. So today we'll dive deep into Michelle's journey, her teachings, and how numerology can transform your life and how it can do that from the inside out. Let's welcome the amazing Michelle Buchanan. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Hayden. It's so nice to be here.
Ah, thank you. Well, you're an absolute legend in your lunchbox, I think. So I'd love to know how you actually got started with numerology. What drew you into it in the first place?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. Well, when I was younger, like as a child growing up, my mother was always into astrology. And so she had like these Linda Goodman astrology books and would tell me I'm an Aries and that's why I'm such a nightmare child. And she was really open to that sort of thing. So I started out with an astrology reading and chart done when I was like 14 years old and reading books growing up. So I was always open to that side of it. Didn't really know much about numerology. Then I got into going to seeing healers and psychic readers and stuff in my late teens. And then someone mentioned something about numerology, and I actually thought it was a load of rubbish because they said, "Oh, I can tell stuff about you from your birth, your name." And, birth date I can get, but name, I was like, well, that's just what a load of rubbish. I didn't know anything about it. So that was me being ignorant and immature. And then when I was about 21 and I was living in LA and I was a singer trying to make it big on the music scene and I just lost my confidence and self-esteem and there was no plan B. So a friend gifted me a reading with a numerologist and because she knew I wouldn't go pay for one because I didn't know if I believed it or not. So she gave me this reading and it was so accurate, right down to all my life lessons and my insecurities and my worries and fears and why I was in the predicament I was. And it was so accurate and so helpful from a complete stranger who wasn't psychic. She was literally just reading my birth certificate, name and date of birth, and everything was spot on. And I found it so helpful that I raced to the library to get, any book I could to read more about it, to see if it wasn't just a fluke. So I'm doing friends and families numbers and seeing there's actually something here. And that's when I just knew I have to do this for other people. So I studied it for a really long time and would help people because I was always a natural counselor as a personality anyway, always helping people with their problems. But I had this tool that can sort of give them some more insight into themselves, but I wouldn't charge people. But people were like, God, that was just fascinating. Like, it was so helpful and so accurate. I want to pay you, or will you do my friend? Or, and it wasn't, and I never would because I didn't think you could make a career out of it. I thought you could only have a career if you were a medium or a healer or a psychic or whatever. So I was like, well, who's going to hire a numerologist? But when I did my law of attraction practitioner training, that's when I started realizing I had a limiting belief and that it wasn't real and that I really just had to follow my heart, do what I love, follow my passion, and the universe would send whoever was meant to come. And the first thing that happened as I started doing it was I was reading like Women's Day. I know in Australia you guys have New Idea on Women's Day, so do we. And I noticed that they had this like self-help question and A column that was run by a psychic, and then they had an astrology column, but no one had ever talked about numerology. So I approached New Idea on Women's Day and said, you can ask me questions, and I'll send viewers questions or readers questions, and I can answer those questions using numerology. And no one's ever done it. And so yeah, I got right down to the wire with New Idea. And New Idea, of course, are Australia. They own New Zealand's New Idea as well. Long story short, I gave them the idea. They hired a well-known Australian numerologist because he was famous. And so they're like, great idea, Michelle, but we're going to use this guy instead. It's okay. It wasn't meant to be. But Women's Day New Zealand said, you're the one for us. And that's where I was meant to be. And in New Zealand, Women's Day is the top of the two anyway. And so I started with Women's Day magazine, which I wrote for 4 years. And at the same time, around the same time, I got my own Hay House radio show, doing readings live on radio with Hay House. And then then I got the Good Morning Breakfast show, doing a numerology segment once a month there as well. So once I followed my passion and didn't I just knew that what is meant to be is meant to be. Just get out of your limiting beliefs and override all fear. Just follow your heart and do what feels good, and the universe will open doors if that's what's meant to be. It all just happened to me. So it was amazing, and then it really just went from there. So
That
yeah,
is so exciting.
oh, it's amazing, mate.
I'm thrilled to hear about your journey and how supported, that your journey has been to bring the wisdom of numerology into the mainstream, and
Yeah,
how, it was almost like certain doors were blocked for you, but other ones opened and
yep,
led you into, this incredible journey that you've had so far. So you can really
exactly.
see
You're
the
right.
evolution.
The musical doors were closed. I wasn't meant to go down that path. I was meant to go another path. And you know what? This path is so much more fulfilling anyway, because I think if I had been a singer and a working singer with albums and tour, that would have been full on and it would have driven me nuts. And so I can see why it wouldn't have been the best lifestyle ever. I sing now in my later years, and the duo that I'm in is really popular. And this is just in New Zealand, in our little corner of the world. And that's full on. And I think, God, I really couldn't have handled that life in the past. So everything is as it's meant to be, right?
Absolutely. So I'm
Yeah.
interested to find out, how did you manage to bring numerology into, like the early morning breakfast show, and how did you do it in a way that was more palatable for, Joe Public?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, how I did it was I had the idea. So the universe sort of, for example, I don't normally read gossip magazines, but my mum had Women's Day and New Idea. So when I'm round there killing time, I'll flick through them, and I just looked in the back and saw these things. I thought, there's an idea. Uh, Same with Good Morning. One time it was on the TV, and I was probably getting the kids ready for school or something. And a lady came on that was talking about astrology. And I thought, well, if they're open to astrology, they might be open to numerology. So I just reached out. Same thing with Hay House, like I went to a Hay House seminar in San Diego in America because I just loved Carolyn Mace and Wayne Dyer and all the teachers that had gone before me, Marianne Williamson, Louise Hay. And so I went along because I just was always into personal growth and spirituality, and Hay House was my holy grail, and sort of, hey, they when I went to learn in the seminar, next thing you know, they're like, we're doing this cruise, and it's also write a book and become a Hay House author. Someone's going to win the publishing contract. So I ended up going on that. I didn't win the publishing contract, but I got the runners-up prize and got the radio show. And then later on, I had the idea of, with my Numerology Guidance Oracle cards, well, I was always using a lot of packs of oracle cards, and the messages are pretty much the same. You sit down, you think about the guidance that a human being would need in their typical everyday life, whether it's romance or, new beginnings, or leave this bad situation, or get out in nature, or love yourself. They all pretty much say the same thing. And I just had this idea again. It didn't come from my conscious mind. It came from divine guidance. I was just sitting there. I was ready to go to bed one night. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I just got this idea. And it was like, 1, new beginnings. Number 2, patience. Number 3, communication or creativity. 26, partnership for number 2. And 6, love partnership. 27, 7, spirituality. Number 2, partnership, spiritual partnership. Like all the numbers and their meanings and what were coming together, and what the card meanings could be for those number combinations, and the scenarios that would help inspire and assist people with guidance in their life through these oracle cards. So I created these cards and I paid for them all myself and went to a graphic designer. And just before I was about to press the order to go through China with the specs that the Hay House Oracle cards were based on, that I got from Hay House, because I didn't get the publishing contract, you see. So I thought, well, I'm not meant to be a Hay House author, so I'll go my own way. And so I did. The Oracle card idea came first. I was about to put the order through for China, and I thought I'll contact Reed Tracy, the CEO of Hay House, and who knew me because I went on the movers and shakers and didn't get I got the runners-up prize, so he knew all the people that were applying. I said, hi, Reed, look, it's Michelle Buchanan. I know you're going to be in Sydney for an I Can Do It in a month's time, or whenever it was. Look, I wonder if I could meet you for a few minutes. I'm about to self-publish these Oracle cards. They're the only deck of numerology Oracle cards in the world. And I just want to show them to you before I go ahead and self-publish them. And he said, absolutely. And he gave me 5 minutes and I showed him all the templates, and he goes, wow, these are awesome. We'll take them. And we're going to need a book as well. So I got my cards published by Hay House, and then I had to write the Numerology Guidebook. So things happened, but in the way that the universe wanted the sequence of events to go. And I guess you could say it was meant to be. And so I'm always really humbled for that, because the amount of times in my past with music or whatever and singing, I tried for things, they didn't work. Even the publishing contract didn't work. I got the radio show, but I didn't, So I just think sometimes if something's meant to be, it will be. And if not, it won't. But the passion, because as soon as I started realizing this information that numerology can provide for people, it's a fast track way to self-awareness, healing, raising your vibration, overcoming your lower self tendencies and rising up into your full potential. This information is vital. I was a youth line counsellor volunteer, which is counselling kids that are, that need to ring a 24 helpline. And counselling and helping people is always a passion of mine. But now I had this accurate tool that can pinpoint exactly what they might be going through. And even just to tell another human being, I know you have this issue. Here it is on paper. It's okay that you have it. You are destined in a way to go through this, because this is what you've inherited with the chart that you have, with the numbers that you have. It's okay. This is what I would expect you to be going through. So at the very least, giving people that reassurance, or even the knowledge and understanding that this is the path you're walking. If you're walking this 3 path or this 4 path, or you are a destiny 4 or a destiny 8, or, these are things that you're going to encounter as you walk that journey, because our life purpose is to learn, grow, and evolve while we're here. That's why we're here. We didn't come here to sit on our ass and do nothing. We're not here to just kill time. There's a reason, and this helps you to understand your reason. How do I get it out to the mainstream? Honestly, I guess it's really just a matter of simplifying it, not using technical lingo, not talking too much about the woo-woo side of it, just being factual. It's a system that was not created by Pythagoras, but he put it on the map. Pythagoras was a mathematician. We use the Pythagorean theorem in high school maths to this day around the world. This is the same dude that's using numerology to train his followers, and he was a mentor and a teacher. He knows what he's talking about. He's not just going to create a mathematical equation and then be a complete nutty Fruit Loop on the other side of the fence. So, just keep it simple, keep it straight to the point. Don't freak people out with too much woo-woo. But I always made sure that whenever I was writing an article or being interviewed or doing a reading, that I go for the really big stuff in terms of, you have a number, and that number has a lot of things you could say to a person about that number. And that's where intuition comes in. Instead of prattling off a list of 20 things that a number 3 might be, or personality traits, feel what the energy is of that person and go straight for what they are definitely dealing with. Or, if it's a forecasting thing that you're talking about the month, you could talk about 20 things about a 5 personal month. But let's go with the top ones. What are going to be the most accurate? Because that's going to wake people up. That's what's going to really hook people in. They're going to, hang on a minute, how does she know that? That's so accurate. And they'll listen and they'll keep listening. Sometimes I think as well, it's even things like the tone of your voice, the way you speak, the way you communicate a point across. Is it done in a way that's going to keep people engaged, or is it done in a way that people are falling asleep? You keep it interesting, you keep it straight to the point, and the content of what you're delivering, keep it interesting, and then whoever is meant to resonate with that message, that information will, and whoever isn't, just isn't. And not holding on to, oh my God, how many people watched, how many people signed up, how many people want a reading. It's like, I don't have track of any of that. I don't know how many books I've sold. I don't know how many decks of cards I've sold. I don't want my ego getting on board, because that's going to start going, oh, look how amazing you are, or look how bad you are. It's like you've got to keep it in your heart center with any work you do and be there for the greater good, to be of service. And when you find your ego trying to make it about you, then you pull yourself in and you go, it's not about me. It's about being a messenger and being there to be of service. And if you keep your heart in the right place, then the universe will help you out.
I love that. That's really beautiful wisdom, and it's really actually given me some encouragement today as well.
Aw,
I love hearing that because, you know, sometimes when you feel like you're getting somewhere with something, and then all of a sudden you might get a whole heap of obstacles that trip you
yeah.
up, and you almost feel like giving up sometimes.
Yep.
And you think, well, am I off track? Like you felt like with your music, the music
Yep.
route was blocked for you.
Yeah.
And yet,
Yeah.
numerology was something that you felt flowed with ease and grace as started finding new opportunities and doors opening up for you almost organically, because you were, setting the right intentions, you were aligning with your heart center and actually just wanting to be of service. So
That's the main thing
that's the
with
main
it.
thing, is
It
it?
is the main thing. It really, really is. You've got to be in your heart, even when doors are closed and people aren't booking and nothing's moving, because that's a real test. And this is what I say, even for clients that are getting readings from me about anything else in their life, they want to start their own business or whatever, or they want to go and be a healer and leave their corporate job, whatever. I say the first thing you need to understand is you've got to really be okay and make peace with it not taking off. You've got to really get clear about why you're doing what you're doing. And it has to be for the love of what you're doing without expecting anything in return. Because as soon as you make it about money and the more pressure you put upon that endeavor, whether it's, oh, I've left my job, now this has to work because I've got bills to pay. That's just all low vibration. That's all ego. That's not heart centered. And it's very hard to succeed in that state of vibration. So you really have to make sure that it's really for the love of what you do. You have to really watch yourself and your ego, whether that ego is monitoring your monitoring your success by numbers. It's not about numbers. It's not about how much money you made. It's about that person, even if it's one person, even if you gave a reading to one person and it was free, and you only talk to them for 20 minutes, did you help them in a meaningful way? That's what it's about. The minute you make it about, yourself and on paper and statistics and all that, that's out of the heart center. And so I made sure that, because I did a lot of training before any of this stuff happened with Carol and Mace, which is learning how to build a soul with stamina and learning how to recognize your lower self tendencies and the voice of the ego and the games that will play with you. Learning how greedy we can be, learning how desperate we can be, learning how insecure we are and how we need validation, and knowing that all about myself, because my own personal journey through my numbers and knowing all my triggers and knowing all my patterns of behavior have really helped me to get on top of that stuff. So, the more work you do on yourself, the easier it is to be in synchronicity with the universe and be in the right place at the right time as well. So, some of the things that I would attribute to my own personal successes had nothing to do with marketing, trying to achieve something. It was to do with following your heart, getting intuitive guidance, letting the losses go and not holding on to them, but not letting those losses take that passion away and that genuine drive and desire to be of service. If you are genuinely here to be of service, that will win every time. It might take time, but that's the main thing. It's got to always be in your heart center, and it's got to be about that, overriding everything else.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Absolutely beautiful. I love
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
what are you then? Like what's your life path number, and how did you navigate that once you fully understood what that meant for your purpose and the shadow aspects of that number and
Oh
how you were
gosh.
able to overcome those?
Yeah, well, I'm an 11 life path. I know in the way that I teach calculating the life path number, there are three ways of calculating. I use the old traditional original way, which is reducing the day, month, and year down to single digits first, and then adding those three single digits, which is 11 that way. And then, but if you add it across in a big lump sum, it's a 3811. Because I know that Sarah Yip adds across, I think. So I would normally just answer that question, just say I'm an 11, because I'm an 11 whichever way you calculate it. The third one is just getting your year and adding your year to your day and month in a big chunk and then adding those numbers up. So I'm an 11 life path, and obviously the inspirational speaker or teacher or the spiritual messenger, etc., here to reach a higher level of understanding and conscious awareness. It is a number that's here to work on self-mastery. So, working through the lower vibrations and lessons of the two, learning how to overcome that really powerful ego that really wants to tear you down and smash you up and tell you you are absolutely nothing, which is doubly strong with that with that 11 energy. And so again, the 11, the two, musician, music, being of service, counseling. So I was already doing those things. But when I had that reading from that lady and she explained about the 11, it's the self-doubt, because the self-doubt was, you're not a good enough singer. You're not going to make it here. I was an incredible singer. I could have made it. I was absolutely amazing, but I got in my head and I just manifested just nothing but not good shit. But it was good because I needed to get to that bad place. And then, of course, the addiction kicks in. Already had addiction issues anyway. So the addiction kicks in, and then it's just like, nowhere to go but up from there. So that reading really helped me. She said, this is why you're so hard on yourself. This is why, you're caught up in this. This is why you have that soul that you do, but these are your lessons. You're meant to be going through these things. That's part of what's going to help you achieve self-mastery. And so when I started to learn more about the 11 and what holds it back because really to achieve anything, whether it's raising your vibration, improving your health, manifesting things you want with the law of attraction, your overall vibration that is governed from your thoughts, your beliefs, your perceptions, the things you do, the things you say, that's what that's what your entire life force energy or overall vibration is comprised of. Personal growth and self-awareness of your lower self tendencies, what your shadows are. Mine was just insecurity, not feeling I'm good enough, needing validation, desperate for, am I doing a good enough job? Am I good enough? 80% wasn't good enough. It had to be 100%. And of course, I've got a 6 destiny number from my birth certificate name. And 6 is the perfectionist as well, and a 4 in my core number. So, I call the 6 and the 4 the policeman. Like, they will just come down so hard for everything to be just right. So you throw them with the mix with the 11, and, there was a lot of work and still to this day at the age of 56, like 33 years, I think it's been since I had that reading. Well, maybe 34, because I had it when I was 21 and I'm 56. So, Jesus, that's 35 years. 35 years it's been that I've been on this journey of personal growth through understanding my numbers. So, and the work never ends. You just take another layer off the onion, right?
You certainly do. Now,
Yeah.
I love the fact that you started that with the different ways of being able to calculate the life path number. And,
Yeah.
because it is quite topical at the moment. Can you explain the reason, like why there are
Yeah.
two ways of doing it and what the difference is?
Absolutely. Well, there's actually three, but there's two main ways. So the very first way is a traditional old school way of teaching it that it was originally created that way. And that is called, I call it reducing down. And that's where you get the day, month, and year of a birth date, and you break those three segments down to single digits first. If there's an 11 in any of those three categories, say, for example, someone's born in November, someone's born on the 11th or the 29th, somebody is, let's say that the year they're born is 2009, which would be an 11, then that 11 or 22 stays 11 or 22 when you are reducing down the three segments. Okay. So let's say someone's born on the 22nd of January 2009, then those three single digits would be 22. One for January 2009's 11, so it would be an 11. Or someone's just born the 3rd of the 1st, 1969. Well, the third is three is a three, one is a one, and 1969 is a seven. That's an 11. Three, one, and seven's an 11. The reason that the reducing down method is the most accurate, and one numerologist that really explains this in detail is a guy called Hans Decos, who's really, really good. He used to have decos.com. That's the numerology software I use. He's now become World Numerology as his new website, but he's incredible in his wisdom. That is because if you look at those three single digit segments, they are also the major life cycle numbers or the cycles of life that we're in. So our month is our first cycle. Depending on our life path as to how long that cycle goes for, they can go anywhere from 20 something to 30 odd years long. And the first cycle is our month of our birth date. The second cycle is our day of our birth date, and our third cycle is the year. So they are called the cycles of life, and they are what our single digits are. So that's one of the reasons why it has to be calculated that way. It also has to be calculated that way so you know a genuine master number. Because in traditional numerology teachings, adding across this big lump sum, like, say, Dan Millman, The Life You Were Born to Live book, which is fantastic and extremely accurate. It's not an official numerology book as such. In fact, I can't remember exactly what he calls it, but he calls it his own system, like the Pythagorean system of numbers or something. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I read that book, but he doesn't say numerology as such. He will call it something else. And that book is based on 3811, 4711, 2911 too, and it's really accurate. But adding across in a big lump sum like that in traditional numerology is not the recommended way to do it. So if someone adding across is a 3811 in traditional numerology, but if you do single digits, it comes to a 20. In traditional numerology, they will say that's a 2 life path, not an 11. But in modern times, and because it's so easy, like if I'm on TV or if I'm on a radio thing or doing something really quickly, I will just teach them adding across because it's easier to explain, right? Just put a plus in between each individual digit and then you add your double numbers together and that's your life path number. It's only in numerology stuff that I'll go through the whole big explanation of it. But in modern times, that's where the just added across in a big lump sum came along and then it just got picked up and run with. And now it's like, which way is it? And that's where that comes from.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank
Interesting,
you
eh?
so much for explaining. I did have a conversation with Joy Woodward about this,
Yeah,
and in the interview I did with her, and she explained it really well too. But I think something about it hadn't fully anchored, but now it
yeah.
has. So thank you for explaining, and for everybody who's watching as well. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of curiosity about that subject and the reasoning why we choose to do it. Now, you did mention there was a third way. What's that?
The third way is literally like a big chunk where you get your day. So if you were to, in the old at school before calculators, we would add up by having the numbers on top of each other. So you would have your day and then a month underneath it, and then the year, and then just do that like the long addition way.
I
Yeah.
vaguely remember. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. And so let's say you did 28th of March 1969, that adds up to 2000. And then those, whatever that big long number is, you add all that together. 2 plus 0 is 2. And that would be a two life path doing it that way. You don't see that very often, but it does come up sometimes.
Okay, great. Well, that's
Yeah.
interesting to know as well.
And what did Joy
Fantastic.
say? What did Joy say, darling? Just out of curiosity about the way to calculate. Does she do reducing down as well, or is she an
Yeah,
adding
she
across?
does. Yeah. She's
Yeah.
because she's a really, she focuses on Pythagorean numerology and wants to do things properly. So,
Oh,
she asked me the question, like, how do you do it? And I was like, well, I
yeah.
actually just add all the numbers up, So, and then she called it like, oh, well, that's the, like the idiot's way of doing it. And I was like, But I was like, well, probably true. So I'm learning as
Oh, that's
I'm, as I'm doing this show, because
yeah.
we're all evolving. And it's
Yes, of
interesting that there's
course.
so much more information that you can get from doing it that way.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree because to know I'm a 3811 gives me the understanding of the 3 and the 8, not just the 11. And that's why I love Dan Millman's book because that's exactly what he does. And so even in my own book, right, in my own books, I will explain there's 3 ways of doing it. And I'll say like the original reducing down is the most accurate way to do it because of this, this, and this. But then I also say there is no right or wrong. Whatever you resonate with is your truth with anything and everything. With anything and everything, whatever you resonate with is your personal truth, and that's what works for you, regardless of what anyone else or a book or anything says. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree. Thanks for
yeah, me
saying that.
too.
No, that's
Me
brilliant.
too.
No, it's very interesting as well that you brought up the number 3811 as well, because in the conversation I've just had with Sarah Yip, she's written an article about Virginia Giuffre and how she was a 3811 and
Oh,
that whole archetype of being the whistleblower that comes up
wow.
with the 3811s and the
Oh, I
and the
didn't know
truth.
that.
Yeah. So it was
Wow.
quite interesting that this number 3811 has come up again in
Yeah.
almost like the next show chronologically. So
Wow.
um, I traditionally tend to attract 2911s,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, as clients, and I always
Oh,
see them as being the ones that tread the path of the Olympic spiritual athlete. It's like the path of the master, difficulties with separations, divorce, or
yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
How is the 3811 different from the 2911 or any of the other 11s in your opinion?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, like it's when it comes to creativity and manifestation, number 3, when we talk creativity with 3, I'm not only talking about 3 isn't only blessed with a lot of the time, depending on the other numbers alongside the 3 in the chart as to how artistically creative they can be. Because some, if it's with a 4 or a 7, sometimes even an 8, that can diminish the artistic creative side of a 3. But 3 is also a creative number, manifestation, creative vibration, manifesting creative way as well. But so is number 8. 8 is the number of manifestation. It is the number of the law of cause and effect. And so 38 can be quite magnetic when it comes to manifestation. It is also a number that's very expressive because of the 3. And, it's a powerful force to be reckoned with because you've got the power of the 8 and you've got that if the 3's in a high vibration, it's a magical energy because it is the number of joy and happiness and vibrance and all that kind of stuff. And if a 3 is in a positive energy, like anything can happen, the world is your oyster. It can be a very lucky energy. Um, and then you've got 8, the manifester, and sort of also, leadership, power, masculine, direct, creative energy. They can be a bit more outgoing. The 2 and the 9, if you think about the 2, the cooperative peacemaker can sometimes be a bit shy, a bit unsure of themselves. Some 38s can be a little bit more confident, maybe, because the 2 is sort of one of the least confident of the numbers because they can have low self-esteem and low self-worth. Number 2 is my favorite number of all the numbers. I always say you're not supposed to have favorites, but number 2 is my favorite number. I just love number 2. It's very hard to find a straight 2 life path as well, a number 20 life path. It is the least common number of all the numbers in the world, number two, and it is the number that we need the most. And it's beautiful energy. And then you've got the nine, again, family issues, relationship issues, the need to forgive. Number two and nine can deal with betrayal, but not everyone's like that. So, I just think the 38 is probably a bit more cocky, a bit more confident, a bit more outgoing, a bit more vocal, a bit more expressive than the 29s. But I know a lot of amazing artists and musicians and counselors and things that are 2911s as well. They have a beautiful heart.
Oh, I love the way that you've subtly introduced the number two there as being your favorite number. And what I love about the number two as well is that it's such a feeling number. It's so empathic. Would you
Yeah.
say that, the reason why humanity is kind of evolving into their more sort of soft, feminine side is because of the numerology of the ones that are born? A lot of them don't have the one and the nine. Anyone born after the 2000s
Yeah.
often have a lot of twos in their birth chart, don't they?
Yeah, with the fact that you've got the individual people that are born in the anything that's a two in their actual, name and the year and date that they're born, but also for everybody on the planet. We are in the two energies now since we hit the year 2000. So that two energy is influencing everybody on the planet. And of course, you bring in the age of Aquarius and the big, the great awakening that humanity is going through. The meek shall inherit the earth is all about understanding that whole aggressive ego, what's in it for me, competitive, greedy, manipulative, taking energy is holding us back. We need to get into and do our own individual work, that self-awareness, self-love, self-understanding, understanding your triggers, your limiting beliefs, your behavioral patterns of behavior that are holding you back, your wounds, your perceptions that are not even true, they're an illusion, like that kind of inner work. Number two encourages that as well, because what it will do is it will sometimes trigger you, make you more emotionally sensitive than you normally would be. You've got to remember that dark night of the soul is a blessing. The challenges that we have in our life and our personality are a blessing. They're there to show us where we need to do the work because we're here to do the work. It's about transformation, and so it's a really positive thing. And we are in the twos now for a very long time. And so that alone will encourage that in us individually. It all really just depends on where you are in your level of evolution as a human being right now. But this is part of the Great Awakening. It's all connected. The astrological aspect of it, the fact that we're in the two energies, the fact that it is the shifting of the guard, where the veil is thinning, the light is shining down on humanity and the planet. But in order for us to move through that, we need to see the darkness. And that's where we're at now. The darkness is becoming very loud and clear. People are really starting to realize how messed up it is out there. And where do we go from here with that? We are at a time where the planet itself is raising its vibration. That means that everybody on the planet will individually be influenced by that as well. And we're called to step up to the plate. So our shit's going to hit the fan. Our issues are going to come to the surface so that we can see where we need to do the work. So it's all good. The dark night of the soul is a blessing. We all try to avoid pain and try and sweep things under the carpet, but actually there's the storm comes before the calm. That dark night of the soul leads you to that great awakening, those aha moments, those amazing shifts in vibration and understanding and awareness, until the next big shift that's required. The journey never ends, right? But it's all part of the plan. And that two energy is playing a significant role in that because it's helping us to be more open, more aware, more intuitive, more sensitive. You have to be sensitive to feel where your triggers are.
You certainly do. I
Yeah.
think that when I look back at, the pivotal years in my life that have given me the most growth, they've always
Yeah.
been where there's been like the dark night of the soul or the tower
Yeah.
experience, but it's always ultimately been
Yeah.
happening for me and not to me.
Yes,
So it's a
that's exactly how
wonderful,
it goes. Yeah.
it is, it's the way it goes. So what about if somebody has missing numbers within their
Yep.
birth chart or their name chart, or if they have a
Yep.
number completely missing out of both?
Yeah, if
What
there's
does that
numbers
mean for them?
missing, so first of all, karmic lesson numbers are numbers that are missing from your birth certificate name. So whatever letters and corresponding numbers are missing from that birth certificate name. Now, if you have, let's say, for example, you were missing a number 6 and a number 7 in your birth certificate name, but you had a 6 life path, or you were born on the 6th, or you had a 6 or a 7 somewhere else in your chart, then it kind of cancels out because it's appeared somewhere else. But let's say you have a 6 or a 7 missing and it doesn't appear in any other part of your chart, then it just means that you have to focus in on what a missing 6 or 7 would represent. If you're missing a 6, that means you need to learn to be a bit more responsible. You need to pay more attention and work a bit harder on your domestic responsibilities, your relationships with other people, issues to do with perfectionism. If you had a 7 missing and there wasn't a 7 in any other area of your chart, you will be needing to work on finding your spiritual truth, working on your personal growth, maybe extra effort required to spend quiet time alone in contemplation, extra effort required to maybe work on your mind, body, spirit. The good thing is if you have missing numbers, we do get a chance to really work with that energy when we're in that year number or that personal month number. So let's say you're missing a 7, you don't have anywhere. There are no pinnacles, no life cycle numbers, no essence numbers, but you're in a 7 year or a 7 personal month. Then you've got that 7 energy all around you. So you can make some really good progress in the territory of 7 and whatever it requires from us in that period of time.
Very well put. I love that. And that's a really good explanation of that, because it's not just about what appears within the birth or the name chart. It's about the other influences, that can
Yeah,
impact
what's
and
not
help you to
there?
evolve in those
Yeah.
areas too, which is brilliant. Wonderful. So what about your cards then? I know you've mentioned your cards and how they
Oh,
can be
yep.
used. Have you got them with you? Is there any of the
Yeah,
cards
here's a
that you can
pack.
show us?
I
They're for
always
you.
have them here because I love the colors of them. And I forget, like I create products, but I forget that I've got products. I'm so just living in the normal world, and I forget. And I have to put things around me so that I remember and give it energy of gratitude. Because I can be caught up in, oh my goodness, my daughter, she's got to go to university. I've got to do an application and help her with that. And then I forget all about other things in life. But yeah, no, so the numerology guidance cards. So you've got your normal oracle cards and they give you messages, okay? And let's say you might have new beginnings and it'll say, here's a new beginning coming, out with the old to make way for the new or whatever. And they'll tell you what the card means. But what these cards mean, because I'm also a law of attraction practitioner, is the cards will have meanings of what you need to know, but you will also be given guidance on how you can manifest that outcome in your everyday life. So let's say you get a card and it's a love partnership. Someone's single, they want to meet someone. So it'll say love partnership. The energy is really, around you is really strong for the possibility of connecting with someone or developing a relationship or meeting someone or improving a relationship. And it's not going to just stop there. It's going to say, this is what you need to do to really amplify that. You need to be in your heart center. You need to focus on how can I be of service in this love relationship? How can I support the person that I'm with? It's about what can I give, not what can I take. It's about having self-confidence in yourself. It's about knowing that relationships progress. It's one step at a time. They can go forward, they can go back, they can, and because your thoughts and your perceptions manifest the outcome. We are creative beings. So, they will give advice on how to manifest and get your energy right and whatever explanation you may choose. It's not just saying love relationship. Oh, that's great. So what now? So that's what I love about them the most. They also have like the flower of life on them and the Merkaba is on the side here. So they're not fancy schmancy with the kind of images that were there because I was on a limited budget and they really are about the energy of the cards rather than their physical appearance. But that Merkaba, is a very powerful symbol with raising your vibration. And then the colors I've used, colors to, for example, number 7 is Number 8 is pink. Number 7 is purple. Card 78, which is spiritual career. Number 8 is about career and business. Number 7 is spirituality. So therefore, card 78 is a card about spiritual career, and it's got the colors blended together, in them. And the cards, like I always say, it's about the energy of these cards and the people that really get them. Like if you ever go on Amazon or something and read reviews, it's about the energy of them, because they were created from the heart center. They weren't created to be the fanciest, to have the best, fanciest, expensive graphics. They're rough and ready like me, and they get straight to the point and without any, bells and whistles and fancy frills. So,
I
they've got a
love
lot of
them,
heart
and
and soul.
I love the thought that's gone into them. I love the heart that's gone into them, and I love the fact that that they were pioneering. They were the first oracle deck that featured numerology, so they
Yeah,
introduced numerology into the zeitgeist fundamentally, and
it's a
that
beautiful
was
thing.
is so needed. And the simplicity is always the best. I think when we overcomplicate things, things lose their meaning. And
Yeah.
of course, you've truly led the way for so many people. But I guess that your journey has been quite an interesting one, because you've moved away from sort of one creative field and then moved into more of a holistic field. What's coming up next for you? Have you thought about what your next chapter looks like, and
Yeah, I have
what numbers
actually.
are
I
influencing you?
actually I don't plan things. People say, "What are your goals?" And I'm like, honestly, my goal is to just get through whatever challenge life presents to me. That's my main goal, is to build a soul with stamina that I can handle anything that comes my way, because I am a bit of a worrier, and I've got to get on top of that. It's okay, even if this happens, you can get through it. Don't worry. I've been a single mum for 16 years. um, things like that. So one area that I think, and so I never really have goals, because whenever I try to make something happen from my mind, it never happens. But when I just go with the flow and I say, send me where you want me to be, have me speak to who you want me to speak, and have me say what you wish me to say, and I hand over myself as a vessel to where I'm needed, things tend to go better for me rather than me trying to make things happen. But what has happened recently is I have had experience with connecting with a partner, and all the lessons that have come from that. It's been a long time. I've been single for a long time, 5 years, I think, 6 years, and so he's teaching me a lot of things, and I'm realizing how important numerology is. So I actually would like to go out there and speak about relationships and numerology, and how understanding your partner and what your partner's needs are and how they are wired and how you're wired and how you can work together. That's starting to become a passion now. And so my next step is to reach out to people that do podcasts. I don't like being videoed and going, but I'm going to have to just get over that. And reach out to some people that are talking about love and relationships, and explain that I've got some information that can add to that they won't know about. Are you open to it and seeing what happens there? And I don't know, nothing could happen. If it's destined to be, it will be. If it's information that's needed in the world, then doors will open. If not, they won't. So the trick is to not be attached to whatever your goal is, or whatever your intention is. You can't be attached to it. You have to be really fluid with it, because the inability to, desperation blocks positive manifestation. So,
A
you
hundred
really just have to be
percent.
fluid.
And
Yeah.
and it's interesting because what you're talking about really is very Buddhist philosophy, isn't it?
Is that, oh,
Detachment
yeah.
as being the
Oh,
as the key to enlightenment. Detaching from the outcome
yeah.
is a great way to sort of allow things that are meant to come into manifestation to slip through
Yeah.
the cracks. So when you're
Yeah.
talking about relationships
Yeah.
specifically, are you talking about compatibilities within relationships and numerology within each person, or does it go deeper than that?
Yeah, and it depends on each person's teaching different things. So at the moment, you've got a lot of people out there talking about people that are single and they want to meet someone, right? And they're talking about do this, do that, do this. And it's like, if even just with a situation like that, like going into each person's individual number and saying, these are the things that are really going to help you, help yourself, you know, like, you know, someone like a one might be so in their head and they're overthinking and stuff, but they're losing track of their heart center. They need to get more into the heart. The threes might be running around doing all these things, but because they're inconsistent, they might be giving up, one technique too soon, be thinking nothing's happening because they're impatient and they're scattering their energy in a whole bunch of different directions, that their results are going to be scattered as well. Like going into that, but also compatibility, understanding, I think, we're more compatible with the people that we're with when we understand how they are wired. Because again, and the Course in Miracles will teach this, and so will, I'm also doing this Kabbalah 1 course at the moment. A lot of those sort of ancient teachings will, and even probably Buddhism, will say it's about how we can serve someone, not what we can get from them. All right. We're all about, in the Western world, what we can get. So we're all about, what are my needs? I need you to behave this way so I can be happy with you. But it's like, I need to know how you're wired so I can be aware of that and I can be of service to you. The more I know how you're wired, the more I can understand you better, the more I can serve you better. So it's about what you can give, not what you can get. And if you understand who you're connected with better, then you can serve them better. You can improve your relationship and you can understand yourself better. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's so needed because, yeah, we have moved into very much a very selfish society where everybody's just
Yeah.
out for what they can get. And I think that really, it's a very simple switch that we actually need to make. It's like, oh, how can I help you to, be happier or become the best version of yourself? It's not
Yeah,
about taking
totally.
responsibility for the other person or trying to change them or heal them or fix them. It's just about looking at what significant action that you can take to be able to improve or uplift them in that moment so
Yeah,
so that they can go back into alignment maybe when they've been out of
totally.
alignment.
Absolutely.
And you
Yeah.
do that so gracefully, I feel, Michelle. It's
Oh,
almost
thank
like a
you.
resonance that you have that's part and parcel of your 3811 energy. And
Thank you.
so and that is, the spiritual guide. That's what I always see the 11s as being, is the spiritual guide, the spiritual teacher, and often those that have to go through the darker aspects of self, the shadow sides, to be able to
Yeah.
illuminate the
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. There's no escaping it.
There is
It'll
no
get you
escaping
sometime, no matter what number you've got.
it. Absolutely. So your creative work is truly inspirational. And you know,
Thanks, mate.
if
That
if
means a
you
lot.
could look at the cosmic trends, and what's coming up over 2025 and beyond within numerology, and the key influences and how that is going to impact on the collective. Like,
Yep.
how do you see things moving as we evolve over the next maybe 5 to 10 years?
That's a really good question. With my own work, I don't really focus on what's happening in the world. I'm so focused on an individual person that's where I specialize and that's where I spend most of my attention. Because I also believe when it comes to the world, for example, is we've got different dimensions out there and we're co-creating and coexisting in different vibe frequencies within each dimension. So I don't even look at it as a whole mess. I see it as, some people might be in this frequency and they'll have this kind of experience. And then other people are in that frequency and they might have those kinds of experiences. I don't see it as a whole one thing. I see it as it's in different frequencies. And we create based on where we're at. And there are so many things. It's such a can of worms to explain that. But one thing I can say is you will attract into your life through, your own experience of what your own truth is based on how you live your life. And you can increase and improve your life and the happiness in your life by raising your vibration through doing the work, through self-improvement, self-understanding, self-awareness, opening your heart center and being a more caring, loving person of service. The more you do that and you're less concerned with what's happening in the world, what's happening in the news, what's happening with the neighbors, what's happening with the interest rate at the bank, what's happening with, and you stay in that frequency and you just say, Everything works out for me. I'm in the right place at the right time. I can overcome whatever challenges come my way. Everything works out in the end. Money comes, money goes. I always have what I need. Like you will be guided to where the best possible place you can be. And everyone's life experience moving forward in the years to come will depend on that work they do or don't do as to what their own individual experiences will be. And you've got people in the world that are in that, all these different vibrations at different levels of the scale. And I'm not concerned at all with the world as a whole or the banking or the financial system or politics. I'm just like, that shit's all an illusion anyway. All I can control is my own vibration and my own stuff. So I'll glance at the headlines of the paper just so I know that something's happened in my country that I don't want to know. The harbour bridge is broken down and I don't even know. So I'll glance for the headlines, but only for that purpose. I don't dive into the drama. I just, do what I can do to make myself a better person and be as happy as I can in my life. That's how you can contribute to making the world a better place. The higher your individual vibration, we're all one whole anyway. So the higher my vibration, that's how I lift up the whole. Not running around crying and screaming and going, oh, can you believe what those bastards are doing? And they're doing this and Trump this or the conspiracy that. And even though I know that most of conspiracies are real and true, but I don't stay in that space, like you got to bounce back into a high vibration. So
Yeah,
you want to have a good life, do the work on
I,
yourself and you will.
you know what? Me and you are very much on the same page with that. I have been accused of being apolitical because I really, don't buy into any of the narrative, and I
Yeah.
see there as being multiple versions of Earth, and it depends on our vibration as to which version of Earth we align with.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, by working through the shadow elements of especially our day number and our ruling number influences, and of course our
Yeah.
karmic lesson numbers, then we can evolve, to the highest and brightest version and align with the version of Earth that maybe doesn't have a dystopic future,
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
and it's that
Exactly.
simple.
Yeah.
So I get it. I mean, you're talking very much about quantum physics here, aren't you?
Yeah.
And how we can sort of jump timelines and transcend
Yes,
different
definitely.
outcomes and
Yeah.
eventualities. Do you find that being fully understanding all of your numerological influences helps you to be able to navigate those different timelines?
Well, what it is it's numerologist is really just a tool that I use to help people get more in depth and myself more in depth of the work that I need to do within myself to raise my vibration. But it's also combined with knowledge of the manifestation process, the fact that everything is energy, quantum physics, metaphysics, like there's a whole bunch of topics I've studied my whole life through anyone from Dolores Cannon to, Journey of Souls, Dr. Michael Newton, to the work of, Course in Miracles, to Kabbalah teachings, to the Merkaba, to just so many different topics over so many years because it's my number one passion. And it's really just putting all that information together. And I really, again, as far as jumping timelines, I couldn't measure it on paper. All I know is whenever you overcome a challenge or you change your perception to a more positive perception of a challenge that you're in, or you master a negative trait, like you would normally blow up and scream, but you hold it in and you go, it's okay. I can absorb this. It's meant to be this way. Don't lose your shit, move through it. Every time you adjust and you choose, make a better decision and you improve, your vibration raises, you will be jumping timelines anyway and sort of getting to where you want to be or your higher self needs or wants you to be sooner. It's getting really dark in here. The sun's going down now. So
I know I can see that you're going a
yeah.
bit blurry, but that's
Yeah.
okay. So to wrap things up then,
Yeah.
where can people find you today, Michelle?
Yeah, well, they can go to my website, which is www.michellebuchanan.co.nz. And they can, or my Facebook page, Michelle Buchanan Numerologist. I don't use Facebook much. I don't really do much. I might just put my monthly forecast up there. But on my website, you can subscribe to get a recording of your monthly forecast each month for free. And that comes on the first of the month. And it's a little thing of your personal year and personal month each month.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your wonderful, heartfelt wisdom and your beautiful energy, with
Oh,
us today.
thanks,
I
darling.
genuinely
Likewise.
appreciate it. It's gorgeous. Your
Yeah.
passion for numerology is like truly infectious. And, I know our listeners will walk away feeling inspired and empowered to dive deeper into their own numbers as well. So
Oh,
remember,
and you've got
guys,
a
if you'd
beautiful
love.
energy too yourself, Hayden. So thank you very much. It was lovely being connected with you because you yourself have a beautiful energy as well. And I want to thank you for inviting me to talk to you. And it was a pleasure meeting you.
Ah, bless you all. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you saying that to me as well. So thank you. So, if anybody who's watching, loved this episode, then make sure you subscribe to the Numerology Show. Also leave a review and leave a comment as well for us. It really truly helps the channel to grow. And maybe share with a friend that that wants to unlock their own soul purpose too. So until next time. Keep trusting the signs, following your path, and living your magic.